it's in theaters. It wasn't that good a video anyway, don't worry, you're all right. This is exciting and an honor, and because it's in my hometown, that makes it so much better. I love speaking, but when I get to speak and then go to my son's basketball game in a couple hours, that's living the dream to me. So, you guys ready to have some fun? All right, I have nothing fun planned. I apologize. Let's see if this is, no, not yet. All right. How many of you, by show of hands, just so I have kind of an idea to gauge the crowd here, how many of you have already read The Miracle Morning? Show of hands. Wow, look around the room. That's amazing. Cool. And how many of you have not yet read The Miracle Morning? Show of hands. Nothing to be ashamed of? You should all be a little ashamed of yourselves. No. I'm kidding. But, I know Ryan yesterday talked a lot about courage. And I believe that courage begins in the morning. And optimism begins in the morning. And commitment begins in the morning. We talked about courage, commitment, and momentum. And how you start your day sets the tone, the direction, and the context for how you live your day. And if you win the morning, right, you put yourself in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state of mind first thing in the morning, then you're positioned to win the day. And ultimately, if you do what most people do in the morning, which is hit the snooze button, right? Anybody guilty of that? I am, occasionally, right? But you think about how that doesn't even make sense. In fact, Dimitri Martin, stand-up comedian, he had a funny bit on that. He said that hitting the snooze button in the morning doesn't even make sense. It's like you're saying, I hate waking up early, so I do it over and over and over again. I want to start with this quote from Robin Sharma. He said, one of the saddest things in life is to wake up one day and realize that you could have been, done, and had so much more. And sadly, I think this is the reality for most people. Most people wake up throughout life. Often it's on a big birthday, right? It's at age 30 or age 40 or age 50 or age 60 or each one, and look back at the previous 10 years and you go, this isn't the life of my dreams. Like this isn't what I imagined. But the problem is that we don't change. We just keep going doing the same things. The problem is that we never draw our line in the sand and say, from today forward, I'm going to have more courage. From today forward, I'm going to make new commitments that will create the momentum to transform my life and create the life that I believe every single one of us deserves to live. So, Robin Sharma said one of the saddest things in life is to wake up one day and realize you could have been, done, and had so much more, but I think it's to wake up every day and realize that you could have, be, and do so much more, but then not live in alignment with your full potential. I think you're robbing yourself, and we're robbing our loved ones, those we lead and those we love, if we don't fulfill our potential. So the question is, if waking up every day and not fulfilling your potential is one of the saddest things, I ask you, why did you wake up this morning? Think about that for a second. Usually it's one of two reasons. Either we wake up because we have to, which is most of us. I don't know about you, but often I look at my schedule and I go, okay, at least I used to. What time do I have to answer to someone, be somewhere, take care of someone else? And we literally back the alarm clock up and go, okay, well, how long will it take me to get ready to do that thing that I have to do? And then when's the last possible moment that I can wake up to not, get fired, have my children taken away from me, get divorced, right? And that's not a miracle morning. That's a mediocre morning, right? So either we wake up because we have to, which is most of our society, or we wake up because we want to. We look at our schedule and you go, when do I have to wake up? Well, great, I'm not going to wake up when I have to wake up. I'm going to back up 30 minutes earlier, an hour earlier, and I'm going to take time for myself. Taking time to become the person, to tap into the person that you deserve to be, the best version of yourself. And so the Miracle Morning is not about waking up early, it's about waking up better. It's about waking up with intention. It's about waking up with purpose, with clarity, with courage, and with a commitment, and creating that momentum that will take your life to a whole nother level. I have one more question for you guys and gals. This one's kind of silly, but have fun with it. What did you want to be when you grew up? Race car driver. What's your name? Everybody say, way to go, Sherry.
Way to go, Sherry.
All right, so we got race car driver. Anybody else? Architect. All right, what's your name?
Caroline.
Everybody say, way to go, Caroline. All right, anybody else? Wait, I have train conductor. I'll come back to, what was yours? NFL football player. And what's your name, sir? Everybody say, way to go, Rick.
Way to go, Rick.
And I'm going to end with train conductor, because I like that one. Who said train conductor? What's your name, sir? Terrence? And you wanted to be a train conductor. Do you remember the age? Around 6 years old. And then, are you a train conductor? No? Okay. All right. So that's one thing. Dreams change, right? We have dreams of what we want to be, and they change. And as we grow and evolve, our dreams often change and evolve as well. This is a picture of me living my dream at age 15. And ultimately, when I was 15 years old, I DJ'd a school dance. My buddy's older brother got sick. He was a DJ, and we got the gig. We got the call at the last minute. And I went, and I didn't know what I was doing, but we played music for a bunch of 7th graders. I was in 10th grade, and I had a blast, and we put out a tip cup, and we got $7 in income. Yeah, 7th graders don't have a lot of money, apparently. There's a lot of loose change. But the dream was born. I thought, I love playing music for people. I would love to be on the radio someday, playing music, for those audiences far and wide. Now, keep in mind, at 15 years old, I thought, that's a way far off dream. Like, maybe in college, I could get an internship for a radio station. Beyond that, I could end up DJing. I could one day be nationally syndicated. Well, at 15 years old, I got a phone call from Larry Gamble. And Larry Gamble hosted the local radio station. He owned the local radio station where I grew up in Oakhurst, California. And Larry said, he had one of those DJ voices, by the way. You know what I'm talking about, right? Hal, hey, it's Larry Gamble down here at 103.7 FM. How are you doing, my friend? And I'm going through puberty still. I'm 15, so I'm like, my voice is cracking. Hi, Larry. I'm great. What's going on? And I knew who he was. He was like famous around town. And he says, hey, I heard you're a DJ. And we want a high school student to host a weekly radio show, 3 hours every Thursday. Would you be up for interviewing for that job? And I was beside myself, like, this is my dream. Yes, of course. And so he invites me to come down to interview. My mom drives me down. I was only 15, right? And I go in, and I sit down with Larry, and I interview, and I think I was the only one that interviewed, but I got the job. I didn't care, right? And I'm shaking his hand. Mr. Gamble, I won't let you down, I promise. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And as I'm walking, like floating on cloud 9 out of his office, he goes, oh, Hal, one more thing. I turned, yes. He said, do you have a nickname that you go by? I said, there's some things that the kids at school call me, but it's not really appropriate. Why? And he said, well, no, do you have like a cool nickname? He said, DJs have what's known as an on-air moniker, which he said is a fancy kind of technical way of saying a cool nickname. He said, can you think of a nickname by on air next Thursday, your first day on the air? Think of your moniker. And I said, sure, no problem. And I left his office deflated. I was excited, and now I was nervous. I mean, in my head going, I don't have a cool nickname. And I get in the car. What am I going to call myself? Hip Hop Hal? Like Happy Hal? I don't know. And my mom's sitting next to me, right? And I get in the car, and I don't say anything. So she thinks what? I didn't get the job right. And being a good mom, she comes in and she goes, sweetheart, everything happens for a reason. Right? And I go, what? Oh, no, Mom, I got the job. I start Thursday, but I have to have what's known as an on-air moniker, like a cool nickname. And no offense, but you guys name me Hal. That's like the dorkiest name ever. What am I supposed to do with Hal? And she goes, well, first of all, you're named after your grandfather. It's not a dorky name. Second of all, I'll help you think of a cool nickname. Oh yeah, thanks, Mom. Okay, Mom, this should be good. What's your idea for a cool nickname? And she goes, well, that's easy. Just rhyme it with Hal. Be like Hal, my pal, or your pal Hal. Or she goes, ooh, I know. She goes, I got it. Use slang. Beat yo pal Hal. She's proud of herself. And I looked at her again and I said, Mom, you're such a dork. I will never be yo pal Hal. Nice try. And I think this next slide teaches us 2 lessons. That's the first one, you got it. Number 1, Mom is always right. Yes or yes? Yes. Yes, she still is to this day. And number 2 is that, and it's really a serious lesson, is that we should all be more open-minded. You know, and not just more open-minded, but when I mean more open-minded, I mean that we should seek to learn something from everyone, right? That every person is our superior in some way, regardless of their age or their experience or their success level, because they've had different life experiences than we have, and therefore every single person, every single one of you, every single one, we have wisdom that can help other people. But it's not their responsibility to tell us what wisdom they contain. It's our responsibility to go through life, not being a know-it-all, which I've been guilty of far too many times and still am to this day, but to remain, why did my wife give me a look? But ultimately to remain open and curious. So if you guys are ready to learn some stuff, experience some stuff that can really add value to your life and even transform your life in pretty radical ways, say, we're ready.
Ready.
Okay, I love it. All right, so there's 3 things that today will enable you to do. Some are expected, some are unexpected. Number 1, develop emotional invincibility. That may be the most important. And here's why that is. If you really look at what do you want, if you ask yourself that question, what do I want? What do I really want? You could also ask that question in a different way. You say, why are you here? Well, because you came here because you want something, right? And you might think, well, I want to make more money. I want to start a business. I want to change the world. I want to impact people with my work. There could be a lot of different answers that come up. But if we really get down to the core, there's only one thing that every single one of us wants. And it's to feel good. That's it. You could use different language and say to be happy, to feel good, to feel joy, to feel God. You could word it in different ways. But everything that we do, we just want to feel good. And so I'm going to go off a little off script here, if you will. Not that I have a script, but if you really stop and think about it, the purpose of life is to enjoy and learn from every moment. And anytime you or I, anytime that we are not enjoying the moment, we're missing out on the purpose of life. You could call it love. Again, you could call it joy, God, gratitude, happiness. You could call it a lot of things. But that essence of feeling good, think about it. When you're feeling good, you're vibrating at a high level. You are living life to the fullest. And here's the thing. The only thing stopping us from enjoying every moment is the rules that we've created in our head about what the moments are supposed to be like in order for us to enjoy them. Well, I just want to be happy, but if this thing happens, then I won't be happy. Well, do you want to be happy, or do you only want to be happy if this thing doesn't happen? You guys follow what I'm saying? We make up all these rules and these expectations, or they're handed to us. If X and Y happens, I feel good. But if these things happen, I don't feel good. I feel scared. I feel insecure. I feel vulnerable. I feel afraid. I'm unhappy. I'm angry. I'm upset. If this person does this, my decision to be happy, it goes out the window because it was dependent on them not doing that thing. So when I say that what we really want, the purpose of life, and of course, we could discuss this and you can come at it from different angles, but it's to enjoy every moment. It's to feel good. And even those difficult moments, those painful moments, to find the joy in that moment and not let the circumstance or the event dictate your experience, your emotions, your happiness. In other words, it's the vow that I commit to be happy, I choose to be happy, regardless of what's going on around me, because it really just matters what's going on inside of me and inside of all of us. So emotional invincibility is the idea of what about when these things happen that are out of your control, that throw you off track, that don't make you feel good, that cause you to feel stressed or anxious or angry or upset or whatever it is? How do you override that? How do you become what I call emotionally invincible? Where you choose the emotion that you want to experience at all times, regardless of what's happening around you. The second thing we're going to talk about is how to optimize your morning ritual. Whether you raise your hand and you're like, I'm a Miracle Morning, fan or practitioner, or you've never been a morning person. By the way, raise your hand if you've never been a morning person your entire life. And again, I won't shame you. I thought about it, but it won't. So whether you are already a morning person or like me until this Miracle Morning, you've never been a morning person in your life, this will teach you how to do both. How to develop a morning ritual, how to become a morning person, and or if you already have a morning ritual that you've been doing for 10 years, how to take it to another level in a way that gives you more courage, deepens your commitment, and gives you more momentum. And the third is how to create and sustain level 10 success in every area of your life, because I really believe that on a scale of 1 to 10, if we're measuring the level of success that we want in every area, and success is a loaded word. You can say fulfillment, right? But the level of success that we really want in every area, not just our business, not just our professional life, but our health as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, the level of success that we have in terms of just how we feel. On a scale of 1 to 10, what level do we all want? 10, right? I've never met anyone that's like, I don't want to be too happy. Like, I'll take like a 6. I don't want to be like annoyingly happy. You know those people, right? Like, or I don't want too much money. Like I don't want like my cousins calling out of the woodworks for, money, and I'll just take like a 7.5, right? No. It's an interesting thing that human beings have in common. We all have in common, we share an innate desire and drive and ability to experience life at the highest level. To experience the most vibrant, healthy, joyous, financially abundant, relationally abundant life that we possibly can. But so few people do. And the premise of a lot of what we'll talk about today is that in order to create level 10 success in your life, it's first about dedicating time each day to becoming a level 10 person. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, we're going to talk about that one thing that gets in the way of what we really want. We want to feel good. And so I'm going to teach you how to develop emotional invincibility. And I want to share a story. My first rock bottom. When I was 20 years old, I had been in a job selling Cutco cutlery for a year and a half. Any Cutco fans in the room? All right, make some noise if you're a Cutco fan. Anybody sell Cutco? Okay, awesome. All right. What'd you say? You set your son up, yeah. Yeah. I will also, my children will be selling Cutco when they become of age as well. So I started selling Cutco at 19. I broke all these company records. It was the first time in my life that I kind of flipped a switch and went, oh, I've been average and mediocre my whole life? No more. Like, I'm ready to draw my line in the sand. I'm ready to have the courage to get out of my comfort zone and make a commitment to do whatever it takes to overcome my insecurities and achieve the success I wanted. And so that started in Cutco. And a year and a half into the career, I was driving home after I gave a speech. You guys saw the video. And I was hit head-on by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. And I died for 6 minutes. My heart stopped for 6 minutes. I was in a coma for 6 days. When I came out of the coma, they said I would never walk again. And that's hard news to take for anybody. I had learned something in my Cutco sales training called the 5-minute rule. That the first day I woke up from the coma and I was told that I was probably never going to walk again, that I had been in a car accident, because I woke up from the coma obviously not even knowing why was I in a hospital. I don't understand what's happening. And I had brain damage. My wife will vouch, I still have brain damage. But I had brain damage to where I literally didn't remember minutes in the past. So my poor parents had to relive telling me and showing me, picture telling me what happened over and over and over and over again. A week after I came out of the coma, so the coma was 6 days, a week later, the doctors called my parents in for a little powwow, a little meeting on an update on my condition. And now keep in mind, this was only a week after this picture was taken. I was in bad shape. I've got a 14-inch titanium rod in my leg, which I still have. I broke my pelvis in 3 places. I've got metal rods in my pelvis, 2 screws in my elbow, a rod in my arm, 3 plates in my eye, all these broken bones, and I was being told I was never going to walk again. And the doctors sat my parents down, and they said, Mr. and Mrs. Elrond, we want to give you an update on Hal's condition. Physically, he is stable, and he should be with you for a long time. Because I had flatlined twice more during that 6 days in a coma. So my poor parents they just wanted me to live at that point, right? It wasn't, it was the walking was secondary. They said, so your son is stable, Hal is stable. However, we're a little concerned with his mental and emotional state. We believe he is in denial. Because every time we interact with Hal, he's always laughing and smiling and telling jokes and making us laugh. And that's not normal. They said for a 20-year-old young man who's being told he's never going to walk again and he's got broken bones and scars, to just be like, hey, it's okay. They said we've seen this before. It's not uncommon for accident victims that have been through such a horrific experience to not be able to face their reality, so they just check out. They just kind of flip a switch and they're like, everything's fine, and they just deny it. And they said, we believe that that's what he's doing, that he is in denial. And we need you to talk to him to find out how he's really feeling, so that we can get him to admit that deep down he's probably terrified of his future and not knowing what's going to happen. He might be angry that this happened to him, or angry at the drunk driver for what he did to him. He's probably depressed deep down. There are these negative emotions that he's covering up, and he needs to admit them so we can begin the healing process. And so my parents came in to my hospital room, and I was watching Oprah, her inspiration. It's like my inspiration. And my dad actually is the one that came in. And I'm laying in my hospital bed again. It was just a week after the picture was taken on the screen. And he says, Hal, can I talk to you for a second? And I looked over at him and I go, Dad, I'm watching my show. And his eyes were welled up, his face was red, and I knew he had met with the doctor. But I didn't know what they talked about. And I started to get scared. I went, uh-oh. What? Did the doctor give us some bad news? And he said, no. The doctor said you're stable and you are going to be with us for a long, long, long time. And I said, oh, God. So why are you seem upset? What's the problem? And he explained the doctor's concern over my mental and emotional state, that I was potentially in denial, that I need to experience my real emotions. And he said, Hal, how are you really feeling? I know you like to be positive, you have a positive attitude, but he goes, what's happened to you is horrific. And he said, how are you feeling that the doctors say you're never going to walk again? He said, I know you say you are, but we don't really know. Are you sad? Are you scared? Are you angry? Are you depressed? It's okay to feel those things, but we need to talk about it. You need to feel it. And looking at my dad's face and seeing the concern on his face, I really went inside and I went, am I sad? Scared? Am I depressed? angry. And I probably gave about 30 seconds of thought and reflection, and I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, I thought you knew me better than that. He said, what do you mean? I said, don't you remember I live my life by the 5-minute rule that I learned in my Cutco training? And he said, remind me what that is again? I said, I've told you and Mom this so many times, you'd be so much happier if you just listened to me. The 5-minute rule states that it's okay to be negative when something goes wrong, but not for more than 5 minutes. It's the idea that once it's happened and it's in the past, yes, feel the emotion, don't deny it, don't just cover it up and go, it's fine, it's okay, don't do that. But don't dwell on it for an extended period of time. It just creates more and more suffering. It literally it programs our psyche to suffer, and it becomes a habitual pattern that gets easier and easier and easier to do the longer we allow ourselves to do it, to amplify those negative emotions inside of us. So, Dad, it's been 2 weeks since my car accident. I'm way past my 5 minutes. I said, I can't change that I was in a car accident, but I can choose whether or not I'm happy in the midst of all of this, or I'm depressed and sad and angry and scared, as you said, the doctors say I would be normal for me to feel. He said, Hal, but that 5-minute rule was for much milder adversity, right? Like that was for no sales, and like a customer not showing up to your appointment, and or canceling an order, not being hit head on by a drunk driver, dying for 6 minutes, being told you never walk again. He said, you're allowed to feel longer than 5 minutes. And I go, Dad, I'd say it was probably 5 hours. The first day, I really had to contemplate this. I said, but Dad, the principles, the adversity may be milder, but the principles are exactly the same. I can't change that I was in a car accident, and so to me, there's only one of two possibilities. And this, by the way, is true for all of us anytime we face any adversity, big, small, anywhere in between. I said, Dad, the first possibility is the worst case scenario will come true, and the doctors are right, and I will never walk again. I said, I've already played that out in my head. And if I never walk again, I've decided I will be the happiest, most grateful person that you've ever seen in a wheelchair. Because I'm in a wheelchair either way. I will not let my circumstance define my quality of life. I will not let my circumstance that's out of my control at that point determine my emotional well-being. Because we all want to feel what? Good. We want to feel good. I will not let this outside event, this thing I can't control. I said I gave myself 5 minutes to feel sorry for myself, maybe 5 hours, but there's no value in continuing to wish this thing didn't happen. And my dad went, are you sure? Are you sure? I go, Dad, I promise you. The first possibility is I'll be the happiest person in a wheelchair, so there's nothing to worry about. But the second possibility, Dad, is I will walk again. And I do not know if that's possible. I have no idea. I have zero idea. I said, but I do know that that's what I want. So I've accepted the worst case scenario while I focus on the best case scenario. And all my energy and attention goes into that scenario, the best case. I said, I think about walking every day. I dwell on it every day. I don't dwell on what I can't change. I dwell on the possibilities in my future so that I can create them in the present. I said, in that focus, I smile, I'm excited. I go, but here's the thing. I've already accepted the worst case scenario, so I'm not attached to that. I really want to walk again. I imagine it, I dream of it, I pray about it. But if it never happens, I go back to scenario one, which is I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm grateful for every moment that I'm alive. I said, so either way, I'm going to be okay. And you and Mom have nothing to worry about. And he went back and he told the doctors, and I don't think the doctors got it. I think they went, he's more delusional than we thought. We gotta call in the big guns, this guy's really in denial. So here's the deal. I don't have any internal graphs to show you that my mindset that I just described that we can all adopt, and I'm gonna teach you how to tactically do that over the next 47 minutes, and a lot more. But the one one thing I have, so I don't have a graph that says, you can see as I focused on the positive and accepted what I couldn't change, my bones healed. Like, I don't have any kind of corollary graph like that, but I have this picture that was taken a week after that conversation. A week after the doctors reaffirmed that your son is in denial and delusional if he thinks he'll ever walk again. It's not going to happen. The doctors came in with routine x-rays, and they sat, I was obviously already in bed, my parents were sitting next to me in the hospital bed, and the doctor said, we don't know how to explain this, but Hal's body is healing. It's healed, so much so that we're going to let him take his first step in therapy tomorrow. So it went from never walk again, and even me being optimistic was like maybe in a year. A year of healing and, that I could, positive thinking that I could do some magic, right? I don't know. 3 weeks after the crash, my therapist, Bob, who's pictured there, wheeled me in my wheelchair up to the parallel bars, where I did my first routine. No. Where I painfully, slowly inched out of my chair. I had a broken arm, so I was able to put one arm on the parallel bar, and I took 3 or 4 steps, and I sat down. And that was the first step or steps that I took on the road to recovery. And to me, there's a lot of science now. We're not going into the science, but there's a lot of science that shows the mind-body connection, that shows literally your mind is commanding trillions of cells. There's billions of cells? I don't know. You have a lot of cells. You can quote me on that. You have a lot of cells, like gazillions. That's how unscientific I am. And our mind and our thoughts literally are telling them what to do. And most people, when they're given a diagnosis by the guy in the white coat or the gal in the white coat, they take that as a sentence. They take that as that's the finale. That's what's going to happen. And they literally tell their body, oh, we're never going to walk again. They might not say it like that, they might just feel the fear, but either way, it's, oh, this is going to happen. I don't know if you guys know this, and we might get into it more, but just had my 3-year anniversary of being diagnosed with a very rare, aggressive form of cancer. And it's called acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and then I had a cellular mutation the doctors discovered that gave me a 10 to 30% chance of survival. So if you're a glass is half empty kind of person, that's a 70 to 90% chance you're going to die, right? Not very good odds. But I knew the power from the story I just told you that, there's something on the screen, guys. There's like what is that? Is that anything we need to know? Should we be aware of that? Microsoft auto updates? There's an auto update. Guys, I vote we do the auto update later. What do you guys think? All right, we're all on the same page. Even the AP guys. Thank you, guys. I have brain damage. What was I talking about? Healing from cancer. So I had this life experience to draw on. And the day I was diagnosed with cancer, it was like, if you know me, I'm the healthiest. I eat super healthy. I live a really healthy, hippie lifestyle. So one of my friends goes, if Hal got cancer, I'm screwed. Like if Hal got it, oh my God, So, I wasn't in denial, but I was a little like, how could I have cancer? Like, I live an anti-cancer lifestyle. I called my wife, Ursula. She was out of town with the kids because I was sick. There was something going on, and so she went ahead to my grandma's house to visit in Colorado, and I stayed back in Austin to get testing done. And I encouraged her. I said, no, don't make grandma miss out. Go visit grandma. And I was told that I got the news from my doctor that I had this rare aggressive cancer, and I had to call her and over the phone tell her that I had a 10 to 30% chance of surviving statistically. And she broke down in tears. I broke down in tears. Not because of the cancer, because see, I do live by that 5-minute rule, and I'd already accepted, well, I can't change that I have cancer, so I'm going to be the happiest, most grateful person going through cancer. And the cancer will not affect my emotional well-being. And I called and I said, sweetheart, I hesitate to say this because I don't know how you'll receive it. It might even upset you. I said, but I think this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And this was about 10 minutes after I was diagnosed. And I think she did not agree, rightfully so. And how can you say that? And but I have the hindsight of going, look, my car accident was the best thing that ever happened to me, because the greater the adversity, the greater the advantages embedded within that adversity for all of us. And the car accident, enabled me to become the person that I became, and through the growth and the challenge and the struggle, overcoming all of it. And if it doesn't kill you, it makes you what?
Stronger.
And I learned that if it kills you for only 6 minutes, it still makes you stronger. So it applies both ways. But here's how I'm going to start unpacking this for you guys and gals. Big lesson. Every negative emotion that you have ever felt in your life, past, present, or future, that you've ever felt, you're feeling now, or any negative emotion you can feel. I say negative, it's a relative term, right? I think all emotions have value. So let me say painful emotion. Any painful emotion that you've ever felt, are feeling now, or could ever feel in the future, is self-created by you. And thus, it is optional. I'll say it one more time. Every negative emotion, every painful emotion that you've ever felt, are feeling now, or could ever feel in the future, is self-created by you, and therefore it is completely optional. Now, that doesn't mean the initial feeling, by the way, isn't going to happen. It doesn't mean that something happens and you have an initial feeling of, oh my God, you're upset, you're angry, you're sad, you're scared. That's a feeling. The emotion is the feeling after the feeling. And I'll explain this. So every negative emotion is self-created by one word. You can write this down: resistance. It is your resistance to your reality that creates your emotional pain. And to the degree that you resist your reality determines the degree of emotional pain that you experience. And when I say resist reality, another way of saying that in kind of simple terms is it's wishing and wanting that something were different that cannot be different. And if you're wondering, well, how do you know what can or can't be different? If it already happened, it cannot be different. Unless you're Marty McFly with a DeLorean, you can't go back in time and change it. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be different in the future, but think about where the majority of your emotional pain and all of our emotional pain comes from. It's something that just what? Happened. We react emotionally, something that just happened. Now, there's also emotional pain, or that's happening now. There's also emotional pain, though, over a perceived future. Something that we are afraid might happen, or we know for sure is going to happen. Like some people experience a lot of emotional pain over a fear of death. I don't care what your philosophical beliefs are, like we were all born and we're all going to die. I think we can agree on that, right? What we do in between, how often we feel good, and how often we feel anything other than good. That's up to us. That's up to us. And so with my car accident, if I would have resisted it, God, no, I can't believe I was in a car accident. I can't believe I'm not going to walk again. Like, I have a lot of goals that involve walking again. Like, no, this isn't fair. That would have been the engine that created the emotional pain, that resistance. And think about this. By the way, we do this every day. This isn't just big traumatic experiences. In fact, how many of you don't like traffic? Show of hands. Okay, this is the game changer. So let's imagine we left the house, like you wake up, the alarm doesn't go off, or you snooze too many times, or you don't hear it, you think it's a dream, whatever. We've all been there, right? Where you wake up late. And let's say you have to be somewhere. You have to do something, you have to answer to somebody else. But you're running late, you get in the car, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm barely gonna make it, or I'm gonna be late. You're stressed out, you're frustrated, and then you get onto the freeway and there was an accident. Right? No, not today. Of all days, not today. Like it's the accident's fault that you didn't get out of bed on time. But think about this. What are we doing? We're literally resisting the reality of the speed of the cars in front of us and the consequence of us arriving late at our destination. So what do we do? And by the way, understand, this example that we're going through is a microcosm for life. You being in that car is you being in the car of your life, you being the driver of your life. And what do? Let's say you need to be there in 30 minutes, and it's taking you, you're on pace for 45 minutes, you're going to be late, your boss is going to be upset, your kid's going to get tardy, whatever the consequence is, it's not good. Think about how we spend the time in that car. Stressed, tense, riding the bumper in front of us. Does that work, by the way? Like if you ride it, you go, whoa, this guy really wants to go. No, it doesn't do anything, right? But we literally are stressed out. And in a lot of ways, we're killing ourselves, like minimally, right? But stress causes disease. So we're killing ourselves in traffic over something that we have no control over and cannot change. We do that in life all the time. What is the opposite of that? The opposite is, I'm going to be late. Oh man, I'm going to be late. Come on, of all days. Well, I can't change it. Turn up the radio and spend those 45 minutes grateful. Focusing on things that make you feel what? Good. Because here's the reality. In life, as I said, we're all born and we all die, but we are in charge of what we feel in between those 2 points. And what I found is that regardless of what happens around you, in terms of, whether it's car accident, cancer, bankruptcy, divorce, death, you name it, we can live our lives stressed out or blissed out. The choice is ours. And again, it has little to do with what's going on around you and everything to do with what's going on inside of you. So, just like in traffic, where you can't change the speed of the cars in front of you, you can't change what that person just said to you, you can't change what just happened, you can't change anything in the past. But you can choose to enjoy every moment. You can choose to enjoy every moment, and in my opinion, my humble opinion, which I don't think is the right opinion, but that's the essence of life. The purpose of life. Enjoy and learn from every moment. And just like I told my dad, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. The most grateful person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. My question for all of you to consider is, what's your wheelchair? What's that experience in your life, past, present, or you're worried about the future, that you create emotional pain over, not knowingly, right? Not pointing fingers or blaming, but because you were wishing it didn't happen. Because a lot of us, we're suffering over childhood trauma. And here's the big problem for all of us, is we mistakenly think that it's the thing, the event, the experience that's causing our emotional pain. But it's never the thing. It's always our resistance to the thing. That's not fair. That shouldn't have happened to me. They shouldn't have done that to me. All true. Shouldn't have happened, shouldn't have done it to you. But how do you want to feel about it? Do we want to keep suffering? Or do we want to be emotionally invincible? Where, the feeling comes in, but then we choose the emotion. You know what? I can't change it. I'm going to accept it. You see on the screen, the foundation of emotional invincibility is acceptance. It's a decision that if I can't change it, I'm going to accept it. And these are 3 words to implement emotional invincibility. Can't change it. Whenever something happens that the feeling is negative, it's upsetting, I always take a deep breath, and I say, can't change it, and I let it go. I let go of the resistance. Those 3 words are my reminder that if I can't change it, then the only logical, intelligent choice I have, if I really want to enjoy my life and feel good and not let my circumstances determine my emotional well-being and my quality of life, the only choice I have is to accept it. So can't change it with a smile and a deep breath reminds me of that. I'd love for us all to invite you to take something in your mind, in your life that causes you pain. Take something that causes you pain. It could be very recent, it could be something from the past that whenever it comes up, you have a lot of resentment, a lot of resistance toward it. Shouldn't happen. You're upset that it happened. You wish it didn't happen. Everybody have that in their mind? And now I want you to find the place of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that you're justifying that it was right. You're not condoning it. You're not saying it should have happened. You're saying, I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to feel pain anymore because it doesn't serve me. So take a deep breath and just say your thing to yourself. Can't change it. And realize that you can't go back in time and change it. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve to enjoy every moment of your life, even though life's hard, life's difficult. But you deserve nothing less. I used to speak at high schools and colleges. That's how I kind of got my start, as you saw in the video. Oh no, you didn't see the whole video, that's right. That was the best part, actually. But so, I spoke at this college in Toronto, Canada, and I got an email from this gal a few weeks later, and she had a picture of her wrist. You can see tattooed with the words, "Can't change it." And she said, Hal, your can't change it philosophy and that idea that we create our own emotional pain, and the key to unlocking the pain, or getting rid of the pain, is to let go and just accept life as it is. She said, that really resonated with me, because I realized how every day I'm upset over something I can't change. Someone does something, it triggers me. Someone says something, it triggers me. Something happens, I'm upset over it. And she said, I got your little wrist, I used to have these little wristbands. She said, I got your little wristband, and I've been changing the wrist every time I find myself upset over something I can't change. She goes, in the first few days, it was 30 times a day. She said, but the last few days, it's been 3 to 5 times a day. She said, it has been a game changer for me, so I wanted a permanent reminder. I went and got these words permanently tattooed into my wrist. Thank you, Hal. And I had a few thoughts. Number one, I was honored and inspired that my message could impact this girl, this young woman, so much that she engraved it into her wrist permanently, right? The second thought was, her parents must hate me. Like, she goes off to see a motivational speaker and then comes home with a tattoo, right? And then the third thought was the irony in what the tattoo says. Yep. Definitely can't change it. I also thought she was kind of eccentric. I'm like, wow, this chick's, wow, she's kind of, that's pretty intense. And she would go get a tattoo after a 1-hour speech. And then I got another email by a different gal a few months later. And this girl in the picture was 19, and the young woman that sent me that picture was 27 years old. By the way, I have dozens of these now, collection of people's foot, people's shoulder, you name it. But this was the second one that I ever got, and again, it was separate. I didn't tell the first story to this group, like it was just random. And I'm going to paraphrase the email that this young woman, she was 27 years old, she saw me at a business conference. I'm going to paraphrase the email that she sent me. She said, Hal, I saw you speak the other day, and when you told me that every negative emotion that we've ever experienced is self-created, it made me angry. Because my dad died 10 years ago. He committed suicide when I was 17 years old. And I've spent the last 10 years deeply depressed and angry and upset and sad, and that's because my dad died. And anyone that I ever told that to would comfort me and say, you poor thing. You deserve to feel that way. I don't know how I'd feel if I were in your shoes. She said, but then I started to consider, maybe I'm not sad and scared and angry and depressed because my dad died. Maybe it's because no one ever told me that acceptance was an option. That I could choose to accept that he wasn't here. She said, so I've spent the last few weeks with that can't change it wristband. And she said, it's been the first time in 10 years that I'm free from the pain of my dad's death. and I made a conscious decision that his memory will not cause me depression and anger and sadness anymore. It will cause me gratitude. Because I can't change that he's gone, but I can choose to feel grateful that I am still alive because of him. She said, so yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of my dad's death, and I wanted a permanent reminder that his memory will never again cause me depression, but it will only cause me to feel love and gratitude. And when I read that email, I realized that the power of this, the power of acceptance, to realize that whether it's traffic or some kind of small annoyance, or it's losing arguably the most important person in your life at any time, or it's being told you never walk again, or a car accident, or losing a job, or going, it's universal. That if this worked for her, that if 10 years of depression, and she said she had done therapy, and she had done every depression medication, nothing had worked. If 3 words could change that, 10 years of depression, 3 words, and maybe 3 weeks, and she reprogrammed her mindset and never had to look back. And by the way, I reconnected with her a few months ago. I haven't talked to her in 10 years. And she said, I said, hey, I got her email address. I said, hey, I want to check in with you, and how are you doing? And she said, the memory of my dad makes me feel love and gratitude and nothing else. So I wanted to share that gift with you and to implement this philosophy. Here are summing up 3 keys to emotional invincibility. Number 1 is the 5-minute rule. Give yourself 5 minutes to be upset. You know, you can feel angry, upset, you can punch a wall, you can, whatever you gotta do, right? Feel your emotion. Feel them fully to get them out of your body. Otherwise, they get stored in your body. In fact, I learned the hard way that I think I was too far on this, where I didn't give myself the 5 minutes. When I learned the 5-minute rule, I started calling it the 5-second rule. So when I had my car accident, I gave myself really 5 seconds. I know I said 5 hours, but it was basically I just accepted it. And I've recently learned, I'm going off, I've never said this before because it's very new for me. I'm working with various people right now to go into my past, and we've kind of uncovered that I didn't cry for 37 years. I didn't cry, I didn't allow myself to feel anything. And recently I've been bawling like a baby all the time. And so anyway, I say that because the 5 minutes, and if you need to take 5 hours, depending on how obviously the adversity and what is happening, take the time that you need. Just realize that it's not indefinite. And so go those 5 minutes, feel your emotions to get them out. Express them fully. And then move into step 2, which is, can't change it. And accept it. And make peace with it. Give yourself that gift of peace. And the 3rd key is accept life before it happens. And what that is once you've practiced this for long enough, and when I say long enough, literally a few weeks, you'll start to realize how powerful this is. You'll get in traffic and go, no! Oh, wait, I can't change it. Why am I getting upset? Silly me, right? You'll start to be more conscious of how your emotions you're choosing related to the feelings that come up within you. You let the feeling pass through you and then choose the emotion. Once you get to that point, you accept life before it happens, which means making a decision that, hey, I like this way this feels, to not be at the mercy of my circumstances and events and things people say. I like being in control of my emotional state. I like being able to feel good inside, regardless of what's happening outside. Once you get to that place, then you go, you know what? I'm just going to accept that there's a lot of crappy stuff that's going to happen in my future. I'm going to accept it now. So when it happens, I'm going to let it pass through me, and I'll be at peace, and I'll choose to feel good and move on. And that's why when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was able to, I had already accepted lots of bad things are going to happen in the future. Lots of painful, scary, tragic things that happen in my life. But I won't let my emotional well-being be dictated by those events, by those things outside of me. You guys ready to go on to part 2? Yeah. All right, part 2 is the origin of the miracle morning. So once you get to this place of emotional invincibility, now it's okay. I'm all right inside, right? Like I'm in control of how I feel. I can choose the emotions that best serve me. Emotions like courage. And now it's, okay, how do I step into that level 10 person that I need to be to create level 10 success in my life? And that's what the Miracle Morning is all about. The second rock bottom that I experienced, which you see it says surprisingly worse than the first, which I get a lot of funny responses to that, because people are like, but dude, you died the first time. Like, what happened? What's worse? Interestingly enough, it was a financial collapse. Anybody ever experienced one of those before, where you can't pay the bills and your house is being taken away from you? Well, yeah, back in 2008, during the financial crisis, I was in denial for sure, because I'm like, people are going, are you worried about the economy? I'm like, I create my own economy. Did you watch the news? I don't watch the news, right? Like, I thought I could just be optimistic and will my way through the challenges, and it didn't happen. I lost client after client after client. I lost over half of my income, and therefore I couldn't pay my mortgage. My wife, Ursula, and I had just started dating in 2004, so 2007 is when it started to crash, and she was by my side through the toughest time. And 6 months went by, and I went into this downward spiral. Yes, I was accepting what I couldn't change, but my circumstances kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I kept losing client after client after client, and nothing worked. By the way, just so you know, I was a coach. I did coach life coaching, sales coaching, business coaching, and the economy was affecting all of the entrepreneurs that I coached, so their income was affected, then the trickle down, they couldn't pay me my coaching fee, so we all kind of lost out. And a series of events led me to go on a run, even though I hated running. In fact, my good friend John Berghoff said, Hal, are you exercising every day? He said, you should be going for a run and listening to like a self-help audio so you're in a peak physical, mental, and emotional state, and then you can learn things to improve your business and turn things around. And I said, John, I hate running. What else could I do? He said, what do you hate worse, running or your circumstances? I'm like, okay, all right, touche, I'll go for a run. And I went on this run and I listened to this Jim Rohn audio back in 2008, and here's the quote that changed my entire life. Your levels of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person that you become. In other words, we want level 10 success, but for me, my level of personal development at that time was like at a 2, like maybe a 3 on a good day, right? I was in scarcity mode, I was in fear mode, I wasn't taking time to nurture my physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual body. I was just waking up, going into my office, grinding all day until my eyes were bleeding from looking at a computer screen for so long, and then I went to bed. And then I did it again, and again, and again, and again. I was caught in that hamster wheel. And I had the epiphany when I heard this. And by the way, I had heard the quote before. Some of you have heard this quote before. But sometimes you have to hear the quote at the right time when you're in the right mindset. And I went, if I want level 10 success in my life, in every area, which I did, how will I become a level 10 person? And I thought, I've got to go home and create the most extraordinary, proven, effective, or I've got to not create, but discover, what is it? What is the most extraordinary, proven, effective personal development ritual or routine that I can do every day so that I can gradually become a better version of myself every day and watch my levels of success parallel my levels of personal development? That was the theory. I ran home and I Googled, what do the world's most successful people do for personal development? What do Olympians do for personal development? CEOs, millionaires, billionaires, gazillionaires, right? And I had a scratch pad out, and I was writing, meditation. Okay, Fortune 500 CEOs who swear by meditation. Got to do that. Will Smith said affirmations were the most effective practice, and how he became one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. He told that to Ellen DeGeneres. Saw that clip, wrote down, got to do affirmations, okay? Visualization. The Jim Carrey story, right? But what I found was that the world's greatest athletes, some of the peak performers, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You think about to be a world champion or Olympian, right? That's like at the highest level. Somebody's got to be a level 10 person to achieve that level of results in their field. I thought they all swore by visualization. Every athlete I found, they swore by visualization. So I wrote that down. Exercise, right? That was an obvious one. Reading. Reading, I believe we're all one book away from what we need to learn to create anything we want in our lives. So I wrote down I had to read. And then journaling. There were so many practices. In fact, Jim Rohn himself, that was his favorite practice for personal development, was daily journaling. To get your thoughts out of your head and clarify them on paper, to clarify your behavior, your action in alignment with your highest priorities. So I had to list these 6 practices. And I went, which of these ones should I do? Because I was looking for one. Like, what's the number one thing that will have the biggest bang for its buck? And I'm looking at the list and I'm going, well, it depends on who you ask. Some of the world's most successful, fulfilled people swear by their meditation. Some swear by their visualization. So, right, it could be any of them. So I almost threw in the towel. I'm like, I don't know which one. Like, and also none of them were new. Aren't we conditioned in our society to look for new? Right? So I think we gloss over that. Like, I've heard of all of these. Meditation, that's like old. Right? Like, that's old, And so I almost threw them out for the reason of being overwhelmed, not knowing which one to do, and discounting, like, these are all old. I need something new. Where's the app? Like, where's the personal development app that will change my life, right? And then I had an epiphany. Thank God. I went, what if I did all of these? What if I woke up an hour earlier tomorrow, even though I had never been a morning person in my entire life? But what if I woke up an hour earlier tomorrow and I did 10 minutes of silence, 10 minutes of affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading? What if I did 10 minutes of each? And I woke up the next morning and I didn't know I had never meditated. I didn't know how to meditate. The night before I went to bed, I just opened up 6 internet windows and I Googled how to meditate, how to do affirmations, how to do visualization, exercise. I knew how to read, right? How to do journaling in an effective way. And the next morning I woke up and I sucked it up on all of them, right? Like, I was like the worst meditator. I'm like, okay, quiet my mind. Damn it, I suck at this, right? I was like, it was the worst miracle morning ever. It was a mediocre morning, for sure. It wasn't here. Like, I wasn't good at it. But at the end of those 6 practices, now keep in mind, I don't think I went into a lot of this detail, but I was in deep depression at that point, where the only solace for me was going to bed every night, and I just willed my way through the day, and I felt scared, and I felt depressed, and then I crawled into bed. That morning, I woke up like a kid on Christmas morning. I was excited. And as I went through these 6 practices, by the end of the hour, even though I didn't know how to do them well at all, I felt, instead of a 2 or 3, I felt like I saw level 10. I saw that if I start every day doing these 6 practices every day, it's only a matter of time before I get better and better and better, and I improve my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual capacities, and I become a better version of myself every day, so that I can create everything I want for my life. And I didn't know how fast it would happen. I was thinking, kind of like the walking again thing, like maybe in 6 to 12 months of the compound effect, get a little better each day. Within 2 months of starting this morning ritual, which didn't have a name, it wasn't a book idea. Within 2 months, I more than doubled my income. I had dropped from $10,000 a month down to $4,200 a month, which did not pay my bills. My mortgage was $3,500 a month alone. Car payment was $500, insurance was $200. That was all my money, and everything else was just debt. I was going in debt every month. Within 2 months, I had almost tripled my income. I went from being in the worst physical shape of my life, having not exercised. I canceled the gym membership. I had not exercised once in 6 months. And then I committed to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. And I started training for it. I hated running. I thought, what a better way to become a level 10 person, mentally and physically, than to commit publicly to run a 52-mile ultra marathon when I've never run 2 miles. And my depression went away within a matter of days. And I went up to my wife, Ursula, and I said, sweetheart, I just got two new clients today. Our income is the highest it's ever been, and it's all because of this morning ritual. I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in my life, and 2 months ago, I was thinking really dark thoughts. And I go, I can't believe it happened this fast. This morning ritual, it feels like a miracle. And she goes, "It's your miracle morning." I go, "Yeah, I like that. It's my miracle morning." And I start writing my schedule, miracle morning, miracle morning, miracle morning. And I thought, I got to write a book about it. I've got to share this in a book. And so I'll close with I'll get back to that story. But here's what I started to do. I started to learn how to do these practices in ways that that were results oriented. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of these, like affirmations are the best example. It's a woo-woo thing. It's like, what do you just look in the mirror and be like, "I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me." Any Stuart Smalley fans? So, right, like, people, I think, it's kind of goofy. In fact, here's the biggest two problems with affirmations. And if you've tried affirmations and they failed you, here's why I believe that is. Number one, lying to yourself doesn't work. If you are broke and you're like, "I'm a millionaire, I am wealthy," your subconscious is like, "No, you're not." You're like, "Shh, I'm doing my affirmation, shut up. I am," right? So the truth will always prevail. So lying to yourself, which is what we've been taught to do for affirmations, is never the most effective strategy. The second problem is that passive, flowery language does not work. Give you an example. You maybe heard an affirmation like this: "I am a money magnet. Money flows to me effortlessly and in abundance." Nope, doesn't work that way. No, it doesn't actually. You're not a magnet. Money doesn't flow to you. Most people that are wealthy will tell you they actually had to work their butt off and create a lot of value for the world, and then money came to them, right? It wasn't because they magically waited for it to flow into their life. So these ways of doing affirmations are not effective. I'm going to take a picture of this next slide because it's a long one. 4 steps to create affirmations that will produce results. Because I don't know about you, but I don't just want to feel good. Yes, I want to feel good. That's what we're trying to do. But meaning, I want to see results, right? Like if I am doing affirmations to make me feel better about my financial situation, I want to actually use the affirmations to program my subconscious mind and direct my behavior in a way where I will take new actions to improve the financial situation. Not just feel good that money's going to show up in my life, right? So, number 1, don't affirm what you want, affirm what you're committed to. And when you do that every day, so give an example. Instead of "I am a millionaire" or "I am wealthy," "I am committed to becoming a millionaire." Or "I am committed to losing 20 pounds." Or "I am committed to spending an hour a day with my family." "I am committed to" tells your subconscious mind what you are committing to. The second step is you've got to be clear on why is it deeply meaningful to you. When I was 20, I started selling Cutco, I mentioned, and I thought I'll be a millionaire by the time I'm 25. That was my goal. And when I was 25, I didn't have very much money, right? Well, what happened? And by the way, the only motivation was like, I could buy a cool car and I could take my friends out, and right, like there wasn't a deeply meaningful why. And then when I was 25, I reviewed my 5 years before, and I said, okay, new goal, millionaire by the time I'm 30. And then I turned 30, and I was in debt, way worse than I was when I was 25. My financial picture was way worse. And then we had our first child. The one and only Sophie Isabella Elrond, who you got to meet earlier. And then I got really clear on my deeply meaningful why. I'm committed to becoming financially secure and financially free by the time I'm 35, so that I can provide financial security for my wife and our baby girl, because I owe it to myself and I owe it to them. And that deeply meaningful why altered my behavior in a way where I figured it out, because it was a must at that point. It wasn't a must when I was doing it to buy a Ferrari. It was a must when I was doing it to provide the security and the freedom that I felt I deserved and my family deserved. The third step is articulate which actions will ensure your success. Get very specific. What are you committed to doing in order to produce the result you're committed to producing? And number 4, real specific. When are you committed to those actions? So I am committed to blank because of blank. So therefore I will do blank and blank and blank on these days at these times. Now when you affirm every day, it's not just to feel good and feel, optimistic. It does that too. In fact, the more you reinforce this style of affirmation, you feel committed, you feel confident, because you're like, I'm doing this. I'm becoming the person that is going to live in alignment with what I am affirming. And that to me has been one of the biggest secrets to success for me, is to get clear in writing these 4 steps and then lean into them. Lean into them. Lean into them. And before you know it, you will be living them. And before you know it, your life, your circumstances, your reality will reflect them. Moving on to the V for visualization. There's a reason that visualization is counterproductive. And the problem is that we've been taught by movies like The Secret, which there's some value in The Secret, but I think it missed a big part of it. The idea, though, that just visualize the end result. See the dream, see the house, see whatever the fantasy is. There's a problem with that. It tricks your brain into thinking that it's going to happen without your effort. So when I was training for the ultra marathon, just to visualize crossing the finish line, if I did that every day, I would eventually go, oh, I'm going to do it. It basically creates overconfidence. Does that make sense, right? You see yourself doing it so much that you don't feel that you need to actually do the work to enable that to happen. So the way to do visualization, 2 parts to effective visualization. Number 1 is visualize your ideal outcome. So don't remove that, because doing that does create desire and belief and confidence that it's going to happen or that it can happen. Like, I had never run before, so I printed off a picture of the Atlantic City Marathon finish line, the race I was going to do, and every day I'd visualize myself crossing it and what that would feel like. And at first it didn't feel real. But through repetition, eventually I went, I'm doing this. But the most important part of the visualization was step 2. It's to visualize yourself engaged in your ideal activity with optimum emotion. So here's what that looked like for me. In the morning, I'd be doing my miracle morning, and I would close my eyes and I would picture the alarm on my phone going off at 7 a.m. because that was my time to run. And then I would create a little mental movie where I would visualize myself walking into my bedroom, lacing up my running shoes, putting on the running clothes, not in that order, and then heading out the front door. And here's the interesting part. The most important part here is the ideal activity, but by creating the optimum emotion. That, to me, is the power of visualization and most of these practices, is that I would see myself go out the front door to do something I hated doing, running. Anybody else hate running? Okay, I'm not alone. But I would see myself always in the vision, it was a smile. I would smile and I would feel the emotions of, and I'd even say sometimes, I'm excited to go running. I'm excited for this. It's going to be great. Great run. I'm doing something great for my body. I would think things positive, but I would see it. And here's what happened. When the alarm clock went off on my phone at 7 a.m., what do you think I did? I got up, after a while, without even thinking. There was no resistance. I walked into the back closet, opened the door, put on my clothes, and then what do you think happened as I opened my front door to my house? I smiled, automatically. And I felt that wave of positive emotions, and I went out, and I crushed my run. And this is how I believe visualization can really radically transform your life on a daily basis. The E is for exercise. And I'll just say this, you guys all know what exercise is. You don't need to go to the gym in the morning. You can, but let's say you go to the gym in the afternoon or the evening, or let's just say you don't even want to do an hour of exercise, you want to do take 5 minutes to do some stretching and some jumping jacks. The point is, in the morning, you've got to get blood circulating through your body, oxygen through your body, and all the way up to your brain, so that you think clearer, you have better decision making, you have more discipline, more energy, right? And so that is the benefit of exercising in the morning. And by the way, the very least I do is, if I'm in a rush, I do 60 seconds of jumping jacks. Or if I wake up and I go to meditate and I find myself kind of falling asleep, that energy is what you want to create in the morning. The R is for reading, and as I mentioned, I believe we're all 1 book away from learning what we need to learn to transform any area of our lives. Not like 50 Shades of Grey or Harry Potter, but, sorry, sweetie, I know you guys like Harry Potter. Choose is a good one. You heard of that? And the final S is for scribing, which is a fancy, or as my friend JP Sears says, a pretentious word for writing, journaling. And here are two really simple things. If you're going to journal every day, two really simple things. This is actually inspired by the 5-minute journal. Number one, describe 1 to 3 things that you're grateful for. And again, the emotion's the important part. Feel the gratitude. Don't just keep it in your head and on paper. Make sure it goes from your head to paper into your heart and creates a feedback loop. And number 2, describe 1 to 3 of your top priorities today, right? Real simple. But okay, I got 10 things on my to-do list. We tend to navigate towards the easiest ones. What are the 3 that we're going to do no matter what that will make the biggest impact in your life? And Robert Kiyosaki, any Robert Kiyosaki fans? Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Oh, a lot of you. So Robert and I met, I spoke at an event, he spoke at an event, I gave him a copy of The Miracle Morning, I thought he would never read it, and then I got an email 3 weeks later from his assistant saying, Robert is doing The Miracle Morning every day, he's read the book 3 times, it's changed his life. Yeah, and I was like, jaw dropped, what? Like, that's one of my favorite authors who changed my life. And you can see what he said about the book. Well, one of the things he said about the savers when we interviewed, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, if you do any one of the savers, it'll change your life, but when you do all 6, it genuinely creates miracles for you. Results beyond what you currently believe are possible for you. And that's why the Miracle Morning, I believe, has been appropriately named the Miracle Morning. Thank you, sweetie, by the way, again. She is my muse, by the way. I recently had that distinction. My wife Ursula is my muse. And we're going to wrap it up with the Miracle Morning 30-day challenge. It is simple, and it should be. Number 1, wake up 30 minutes earlier. Can you do an hour? Sure. But I want to set you up for success by making this as easy as humanly possible. That might mean 30 seconds less, or 30 minutes less of Netflix binging at night, right? Do one of the savers. You can do all of them, but do one. A lot of people start with the R. If they're just getting the book, they set their alarm clock 30 minutes earlier, and they wake up and they just read the Miracle Morning book, right? And then when they get to the S in savers for silence, they incorporate silence into their reading, and then just kind of step by step add on to it. And last but not least, join the Miracle Morning community. It's a Facebook group. And it's a Facebook group with 235,000 people. And I don't like saying that in some ways because it gives the impression that it's quantity. It is quality. It's one of the most engaged, loving, supportive, online or offline communities that I've ever seen in the world. And it's just a great place to tap in and get support. Now, I want to say something before I go on to my final slide here, and that is, Ryan mentioned that I am a student of the Ask method. And a good friend of mine, Pat Flynn. Any Pat Flynn fans? Woo! A lot of them. All right, me too. I'm a huge fan of Pat. I was a fan before a friend, but Pat asked me at one point a question about how well I knew my audience. He actually asked me, what percentage of your audience are entrepreneurs? Because we were planning our first event, and I was asking him for some advice. And I was kind of embarrassed, and I said, I have no idea. He said, well, don't you survey your audience? I said, no, what do you mean? And he explained, you have to read this book called Ask. I read the book Ask. Immediately, this was like a month before our event. Read the book Ask, sent out a survey, found out that 82% of the people attending our event were entrepreneurs. And I had no idea. So my business partner and I decided to add on an entrepreneur day, the day before our event, and it was 3 times the price of the original day, but we got lined up a bunch of speakers and lessons from us, and I think we generated an extra $73,000 in revenue in the next month because of the Ask Method and Entrepreneur Day. And since then, over here at the end, my good friend and chief miracle worker, Chip Franks, he leads the Ask Method to learn about our audience. And so I truly believe that to truly be a heart-centered entrepreneur, the Ask Method is at the core of that. How can you help someone, really help them in the way they need to be helped, if you don't know how they need to be helped? So it's an honor to call Ryan a friend. It's an honor to know. It's just a privilege to see all of you here learning something that will not only transform your lives and your businesses, but will transform the lives and the businesses of the people that you serve. And the last thing I would like to share is a picture of me, my wife Ursula, my daughter Sophie, and my son Halston. A couple of years ago, I was 127 pounds. I did not have a hair on my body. I had just come off of chemotherapy. And what I've learned since I began practicing the miracle morning is that it's not just about you. It's about those you love and those you lead. And I truly believe, as the slide says, that the greatest gift that you can give to those you love and those you lead is to fulfill your potential so that you can show them how to fulfill theirs. To me, that's what the miracle morning is about. It's about you becoming that level 10 person, not just for you, but so that you can be that level 10 spouse, that level 10 parent, that level 10 friend, that level 10 leader, that level 10 human being above all. Because I truly believe that we're all one big family. We're one big human family. And in the same way that I love my blood family, I truly, sincerely love every single one of you. And it is my hope that you will wake up tomorrow a little bit earlier, do at least one of the savers, and that I'll see in the Miracle Morning community, so together we can elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning and one person at a time. Thank you.